Alan Stratton from Woodturning. For my next ornament for the Christmas Ornament Challenge, I'm going to make one out of aspen. The great thing about Christmas ornaments is that you can use offcuts from other projects. This is an offcut from a bowl. The bowl's rough turned and off drying, but here's the offcut. It'll be nice for a Christmas ornament right now. For the finial, I'll use some walnut. Again, an offcut from a bowl. So here we go. The Christmas Ornament Challenge is sponsored by myself and Carl Jacobson. Make a video, put it in, let's have some fun.
This piece of aspen has been in my shop now for a couple of months and feels somewhat dry. If it does shrink more, I don't think it'll be significant in this ornament. I glued it to a used wood faceplate with yellow glue and dried it overnight. First, a bit of rough turning with the bowl gouge. I did not hollow the bowl, but do need to drill a hole in it in which to mount the finials. The center hole will be a ½ inch drilled with a Forstner bit. Then I cut a 45-degree chamfer around the center hole to mate to the finial when it was turned. Sounded the body with beeswax and mineral oil mix up through 220 grit, then applied more wax mixture and buffed it well to seal the wood before inlaying the bronze wire. For the inlay, I first cut a groove with my large skew. It needed to be wide enough for the wire and deep enough to let the wire just be a little proud of the surface. I planned to sand the bronze wire to flatten out the outer curve and level it almost to the surface of the surrounding wood. I first cut the wire to better match the circumference of the body. The most important part was to get the end of the wire to match the curvature. Since the wire cutters always cut a V groove in the end, I sanded the end of the wire with the sandpaper stuck to the wooden block. Then just a little more fiddling with the curve and I was ready to start gluing. Here's where a third hand would have been handy. First, just a little medium CA glue for the end of the wire, hold it down and spray a little accelerator. Then glue a segment, stretch the wire into the groove and spray a little accelerator. Then more segments until I got near the end of the wire. For the end, I cut the wire just a trifle long. It took a couple of cuts to get it close, but not too short, then sanded the wire again to get a perpendicular end. Finally, glue down the end of the wire. Then sand the wire and any glue around it with a sanding block with the body stationary. Then sand more with the lathe on. I felt it was important to keep my face shield on and to stand away from the plane of the wire in case it came loose while I was sanding. Then on to finish through 600 grit and finish with friction polish. And finally part off the ornament body. For the bottom finial I used scrap walnut, again an offcut from another bowl. I glued it to the faceplate with CA glue. For the tailstock I patted the point with a rubber stopper. I drilled out to fit over the threads. If I did hit it with my tool, no damage to the tool, so all I needed was tailstock pressure. After rounding the finial stock, I made a couple of marks to indicate my best guess for the base and the onion for the final. At this point I switched over to a medium spindle gouge and a small spindle gouge. I worked carefully to avoid breaking the finial away from the waste block. I used a 1/2 inch end wrench to size the tenon. This one was just a bit loose, but okay for the project. Then to make a 45-degree mate to the chamfer on the body. Now to sand the finial, I started with 120 and went through 600 grit sandpaper, and then finished it with a friction polish, parted it off. Similarly for the top finial, the main difference here was to drill a hole for the hanger. Finally, make a hanger out of 20 gauge brass wire, could be a bit lighter gauge, but glue everything together. It weighs about an ounce if my scales are right, but it turned out to be a nice little ornament. I did buff it on a buffing wheel to get a little bit higher sheen on the body. I'll put it in the challenge. If you have a project you'd like me to try and illustrate, let me know. I'll give it a try. Meanwhile, if you have a video camera, video your ornament and let's put it into the challenge. Let's have some fun.